I don't think Jett needed the buffs to be insane. I think she's been insane the
No.
whole time. People just didn't understand how to use her. And in Twitch Rivals, Jett was the highest win rate agent at like 54%.
That can't be nothing.
Exactly.
Hey everybody, my name is Spin, and today we're actually going to be doing a conversation between me and Valorant esports analyst AnderzTV. Anders actually records a ton of data from the Valorant esports scene, and he analyzes it all. Don't worry if you're not a huge fan of the Valorant esports scene, because we're actually going to be talking about how their plays in the tournaments are going to start affecting our day-to-day gameplay. There's a lot of really great nuggets in here, and I hope you like it. And hey, if you do like it, please consider liking and subscribing, and do the same for Anders too, because he really deserves it. What were your overall thoughts of the tournament itself?
It was really nice to see. I think the coolest takeaways for tournaments like that for me are going to be the fact that it isn't that pure competition that we always get.
Right.
You have an interesting scenario where a lot of the time you'll have teams fall into their perception of what the established best meta format is, and then play nothing but that. They're sort of entrenched in an unwillingness to experiment. And when you put them into something like Twitch Rivals, where they don't necessarily feel the same stress and pressure as they do in a quote-unquote real tournament, they're more willing to just kind of do what they'd want to experiment with in normal tournaments, but otherwise not want to.
I felt that happening. And so I guess that's kind of a part of my first point that I wanted to make, was that I saw a lot of people, or I saw some people doing things that were not considered to be meta.
Oh, absolutely.
But they were killing with it.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the fun of Twitch Rivals, and sort of the underpinnings of the statement I just made is that they get to experiment because the quality of competition, it's not low by any means, but it's so much lower than what they would normally encounter that they get to get away with the fun, crazy stuff that they normally can't. Like, you can pull out a Jett ult at the start of a round and then proceed to 1v5 people on a site. Like, that'll actually happen. And you're not going to see that in like a T1 versus TSM match.
I mean, so you tell me why not? Because I kind of disagree. I think that people were sweating a little bit on this, though. You know what I mean? And it's a relatively new game. So I saw some people doing things that weren't meta, but I asked myself, like, if it's working, then why is it not meta?
I think that really it boils down to Twitch Rivals being a show where people get to show off mechanics. And so you do get people who get to pull off that like 1v5 Jett play because it's an expression of raw mechanical skill. The reason that you aren't going to see that happen in a real tournament is because as soon as you start introducing advanced utility usage and coordination, the opportunity for that sort of play to occur ceases to exist. Like, if you try to make that Jett play against a coordinated 5-stack, you're just going to run headlong into utility and die. Where even if you have 4 out of 5 members of a competitive team, like I know in Europe there were multiple instances where it was like, this is 4 players from X S tier team and 1 random streamer. Even in that situation, you've removed enough of a part of that team where their utility structure is no longer intact and can no longer do its job effectively. It still exists, but comparatively to where they would be in a normal tournament, it's not really.
For me, it slashed a lot of perception that I had of so many of the agents, because if somebody like Wardell can pick up Jett, who's considered to be trash operator, and slaughter that much with it, then my question is Jett really as bad as everyone says she is? No. And my takeaway was that the answer could be no. Like, if you put Jett in the hands of a solid player, then that player might just frag out. And I think that the entire community is like, JettSucks.com. Like, I tried Jett for the first time the other day, and I didn't do that well because I didn't really understand like how her mobility works, and everyone on the other team was railing on me. They were like, JettMains.com. But when you put it in the hands of someone like Wardell, I mean, even though the enemy team, it's not a super organized tournament, but some of the tricks that I saw Wardell using, I was just blown away. And I wanted to get your read on that.
I'll be honest, I never thought Jett was bad. I thought that the classic analogy that seemingly everyone was making is they were parring her up against Yasuo from League of Legends. His whole character design is like dash all over the place, get into the middle of the enemy team, and pop off. And people are like, oh, Jett is like Yasuo. You're supposed to be using Tailwind to just yeet yourself into the enemy. That's the exact opposite way of how you're actually supposed to be using her. And it took people like a full 3 months to figure out what the heck that was. Now you have people who are picking her all the time, and in Twitch Rivals, Jett was the highest win rate agent at like 54%, and she's still holding that win rate. So that can't be nothing. Exactly, 3,000 rounds of gameplay later, and you still see her as the highest win rate agent at like almost 54%. She's got like a full 3% on everybody else, and it's because the only people who are picking her up right now are people who are just popping off on her. You've got Wardell, you've got, I mean, the people playing it are true masters of op gameplay. So when they go off hard.
Yeah, and there's a lot of people out there that are going to be saying right now, well, they buffed Jett. But the thing is, the way they were playing Jett had nothing to do with the buffs. The reason why Jett was fragging out or Jett players were fragging out in the Twitch Rivals tournament had nothing to do with her smokes. They were fragging out because of utility that she had before that patch had come out.
Yeah, it boils down to the fact that the people who were playing her were oftentimes playing into another. They were peeking into another op. So Jett has an op. She's peeking into another op. She has access to Tailwind when she misses her shot, so she's hard to trade, and the other person doesn't. And that is literally what it boils down to.
Come on, let's go. 1, 2, 2. He's in you. He's one U-Haul, one tank.
Can you boost us, Scott?
Dead.
And the thing is, with tagging being what it is in this game, it's like I saw moments where Wardell was completely caught out. Like he would whiff an op shot, the enemy player would take a shot at Wardell, and he was tagged. So he was dead. He was gonna die. But with the Tailwind, boom, he's out of the fight. So there's not even a punishment for him for missing an easy op shot. I mean, what do you do? But the thing is that I can't get over is the community has been saying for full 2 months now, Jett is horrible. And I love it when people pick up a character that everyone says this character sucks, and they just say, you know what? No, this character doesn't suck. Watch this. And everybody's like, okay, we were wrong.
Now we just need to wait for that to happen with Omen and Viper. I think the exact same thing is going to happen with Viper here in like 2 or 3 weeks. It's going to happen eventually, timeline TBD, but I think you're going to have a bit of a Viper renaissance where people realize how insane she is.
Absolutely. I agree. And I think Viper might be, I mean, we know that they're looking into Viper right now for a buff too.
Which is the funny thing, because I don't think Jett needed the buffs to be insane. I think she's been insane the whole time. People just didn't understand how to use her, and I think Viper's the exact same way. I think that if you were to actually spend the time to workshop out Viper right now, she's like debatably a better offensive controller than anyone else. The amount of sight lockdown that she has is pretty much unbeatable. People just don't take the time to figure out her lineups because they're a huge pain in the butt to figure out. But like the collegiate team I coach, we have Viper in more than half of our offensive defaults.
Really?
Because the lineups she can set up are disgusting. Just saying. Like if I were to make a video series of the type of baseline executes you can pull off with Viper, I would wager that a lot of people watching those videos, including pros, would be like, holy shit, we've been doing this wrong.
Can I see that? Can you share some of those with me?
Yeah. Maybe off camera, I'll be like, yeah, so this is what we do. I think that one of the things...
I'd love to see it.
One of the things also that Viper offers that people just don't seem to understand is that her utility is toggleable. So if you have lineups inside of like a lobby area outside of a main throughway and pressure point onto a site, she can set up her utility, rotate back to her team, then execute on the site and force people to not early rotate.
Exactly.
Like
exactly. When I used to play Viper, that's kind of how I played, and I was fragging out as Viper.
Yeah, and it gives you this unique ability to set up your Viper utility for your execute, and then execute with your Viper utility, and then execute with your Viper utility again, and then randomly have your Viper set up her utility, and then fast push the other side after the Viper utility goes up. And the enemy team just has no consistent way of knowing what your game plan is. She is the best 1-4 like sight push juke agent in the game, period. Like, not close.
Yeah, with that wall and with her massive smoke that she can deploy, I mean, you can deny an entire enemy team so much information. And the game is all information. So if the defending team doesn't have information, what do you have? And my conclusion from that part of the tournament was that there is a danger of crowdsourcing the meta for this game.
100%. Totally agree. I think that...
Like, just don't fall into that perception when somebody tells you, oh, this person's meta, this person's not meta. And when that stuff is crowdsourced, that's just when your like radar should be up and the alert signal should be going up and saying, maybe that's not true. Maybe the crowd is just wrong.
Yeah.
Seriously.
And I mean, that even extends to pro competition. Obviously, I mean, when you say crowdsource, my mind goes to like listening to people on Reddit saying what they think is meta or that X agent sucks. But even beyond that, like, pro play was absolutely dominated by Common Core compositions for the first like 3 quarters of beta.
And for those of you who don't know, Common Core is Sage, Brim, and who?
Cypher and Breach. So
Sage, Brim, Cypher, Breach, and who? Oh, and then a random.
Yeah, and then just a plus X. Most commonly, it's either Raze, which is super popular in Europe, or Sova, which is super popular in NA. And now you see like at most a 50-50 split of Common Core comps plus a bunch of other variants, and it's far from the most successful composition. So even if something is seemingly omnipotent at a pro level, that hardly means that like it's the only mold to be filled. Like, still figure out how you want to play the game. This game's been out for effectively no time at all in the grand scheme of an esports life cycle. So to assume that pros have it sorted or that anyone has it sorted is just nonsense.
Hey everybody, my name is Spin. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you liked it, please consider liking and subscribing. It would mean a lot to me. Peace and love, everybody.